Welcome everyone to more Linux development live here from our workshop. We are so close to having Firefox building again for our regular and most common SPARC build for our Linux distribution and UltraSPARCs, and also for the P3. We also can build this again. The problem is these days with my recurring criticism here of complexities right nowadays. Previously you only needed GCC, one compiler. Now you also need LLVM, Clang and Rust. Everything working, and of course it's not always just working. And I realize, so for a PowerPC that builds right, and I should have been more clever and had the GoFundMe for you playing along at home and stuff. GoFundMe open. Here Firefox compiling. Because, do we even have it here? Yeah, of course. Because it just takes incredible amount of, like, yeah, if you want to, business type or whatever. Yeah. Oh, already don't find your own GoFundMe. That's not a good start. Maybe here, maybe there. And so what we need to do now is actually change more of LLVM than I would like to. Here we have Z, because $169. We still need sponsors, so don't delay. Share, like, and subscribe today. So what's happening now is for SPARC, so for PowerPC we can build this. We only need to debug. I've not tested this, right? So coming up next, also actually testing that on latest and greatest epic thread ripping IBM cell thread ripping that Firefox. Need to test it. It built though after last night's fixes, but for SPARC it's more complicated. You see in the logs I already patched here something, and so the major thing after the usual, I already debugged on that for an hour, as I usually do. And so of course the LLVM Clang stuff is completely out of sync. What happens here is that, similar to the P3, V and Debian and maybe probably Sun Volaris back in the day, we all, and even IRIX, right, for the SGI with IRIX for the O2 and Octane and similar such stuff, right? Basically everyone 20 years ago and at times still wants 32-bit pointers, even on SPARC, UltraSPARC, SGI, MIPS. 64-bit processors, much longer than Intel and AMD had those. But back in the day, wider data is nice. Wider data passes, doubling potentially computational performance. But of course at the cost of instruction cache and data cache for all the pointers, right? So, and that is the thing out of sync here, right? So everything, and that's the thing, right? Everything else builds and so on, but the one thing that doesn't is Clang here. Plus, of course, the Rust stuff. I last night at midnight already patched some Rust stuff that might still be here in the log. Also, why did I not position that better for probably? Yeah, why do I always notice that when we are live already? Right, actually, I think I had this position. Whatever, usual, other OS stuff. So what's happening here is also there is some Rust stuff, right? The usual Rust atomic that are hard-coded and so on Nix and others. This might actually, so yeah, this is after patching, potentially. And so there is, among other things, now some disagreements also with integer long and pointer sizes. Also because I even logged this here with strace earlier, maybe I still have this in the log, strace, this Mach build, 2023 you strace, you will modular Mach build because implementation deficiencies. And then even to check what the heck is even executed, right? And among SED and Bash and stuff, also Bash probably everywhere, Clang. And so what's happening here is, because, do I still have that? And probably I should have that here somewhere. Error. This is my debugging, and among other things, cast ice pointer. So some stuff is in the C++ code going wrong for pointer sizes, right? We have here multiple, this is not the only, there are multiple of this. Cast from ice pointer, aka void star, to G uint, aka unsigned int, loses precision. And it's through whatever configuration that is happening. But the thing is that Firefox, if we take a look into the Firefox build, so Firefox decides to build this here with Clang++ and stuff, and then our SPARC target is configured. And that is now where the main root cause of this problems lies. LLVM Clang thinks SPARC version 9 should be 64-bit, and it actually shouldn't. And this is also, I probably have seen this 6 or 12 months ago. We probably had this mentioned in a live stream. But this is also so disappointing, right? How we had this even with IBM Cell, yes, also vintage, but also other things like x86, not all exotic optimizations are implemented there. I have no idea, and this is very unfortunate that the LLVM gods decided to implement SPARC version 9 as 64-bit. So the history of that is there was SPARC version 7. I don't even know. Maybe they had actually. I don't even know why. So basically, the first SPARC was SPARC version 7. Maybe the others were prototype stage or whatever. I think I researched this once, but I forgot the details already. Original 32-bit SPARC version 7 was used. Maybe they started to come from Sun 3, so it was used in Sun 4 computers. It's not really clear to me. I mean, probably other stuff like, I have no idea, version 1 or 2. Maybe, I mean, it must have been prototype or stuff. And welcome everyone. So basically, although it's confusing, the first SPARC version 7 which we just run recently in our precious SPARC station was SPARC version 7, and that is from 1990. And although they write in 1986, apparently, yes, so the very, 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 I have a SPARC station too, so that's already second generation SPARC station. So in 1986, before that probably was prototyping. And you would think, because otherwise SPARC that started with version 1, but it starts with version 7 for such reasons. So SPARC version 7 is super vintage. It doesn't even have hardware multiply and divide. It has a multiply step that you need to run dozens of times, maybe as long as bits are set, so like up to 32-bit, 32 times 32-bit, something of that sort. Anyway, after SPARC version 7 came obviously SPARC version 8, which included hardware multiply and divide, among some other things, maybe more atomics or so. And then SPARC version 9. So SPARC, and that were UltraSPARC. And so while it is indeed correct that 64-bit UltraSPARC is SPARC version 9, it was not used like this, right? Maybe it was used in some obscure Sun or Solaris, which, I mean, maybe it was, but nah. Because in the Linux and GNU land and GCC, we always used SPARC 64 and not SPARC version 9. And we including all of GNU. So I didn't make these rules up, but what I'm telling you here actually makes sense, right? Nearly all other architectures have 64 in their name if they're 64-bit, right? So I've no freaking idea who thought it is a good idea in LLVM to decide SPARC version, SPARC, 64-bit SPARC is used all over as SPARC version 9. And I knew that for at least a year, but now I want Firefox on my beloved Sunblade. And now we need to fix it, right? And so, I mean, I could just SED all the stuff all over the place, which may or may not be a good idea. And maybe I don't, right? So I mean, in my opinion, the right thing would be to SED the whole LLVM Clang code base from SPARC version 9 to SPARC 64 and implement SPARC version 9 differently. Because what we actually need is, for all of GNU, Free Software Foundation, GCC, HERT, and Linux, SPARC version 9 means 32-bit SPARC running version 9 instruction set architecture, including new instructions like potential viz for the visual instruction set extension that is SIMD for graphic processing. That is the SIMD vector of the SPARC world, right? And you see this in multiple cases here, right? I had this open before lunch, but then I went for lunch before the live stream, so now I need to look it up again. So they have at times, you see here, SPARC. So they handle SPARC here, for example, right? Lib target parser. I'm not making all this stuff up. I researched it now, not once but twice. And now I thought I patched already some things. So that's the problem here, right? So they have here SPARC for triple SPARC 32. They even have SPARC endianess little for whoever is using that. And then cases, so that is what we would need to edit here, right? So they treat SPARC version 9 as SPARC 64 and internally as SPARC version 9. This is really unfortunate, right? This is a classical case of mistakes were made. Nothing, of course, in tree-wide SED could fix. Although, it's not SED, right? It's tree-wide SED with some fixes. So this should be SPARC 64. So this should be more like that. Cases. It's SED with some manual guidance, right? So that was SPARC, and basically, I don't know, do they support multiple cases? Apparently they do. They have their MIPS. So this would be SPARC, theoretically even version 7. And so if you wanted to do that, but then also theoretically version 8, I'm not even sure if they have version 8 there. Super unfortunate, right? So theoretically all of SPARC version 9, theoretically SPARC version 9b, and what I even found, what I didn't know, because after SPARC, what SPARC version 9b is I need to look it up, but I guess because theoretically the GNU configure scripts also support SPARC version 9a and maybe A, I believe so, and B, definitely B, and what is new to me, since I know that only since yesterday, V for the latest and greatest, Sun, Niagara, Fall, Cool, Threads, processes. So I don't even support this in T2 yet, our increasingly successful Linux distribution, right? Theoretically, we should probably also wire up support for SPARC version 9v for running 32-bit code with all the latest and greatest extension that the latest Oracle SPARC processes with. Vectorization extension and more such stuff have to offer. So what I did patch, but that is apparently not enough. I patched already in our increasingly amazing T2 package repository for, do I even patch LVM? Maybe I only patch Clang. And maybe that is the problem. Maybe the problem is that I only patch Clang. So I patch here, so as you see in Clang, they had here SPARC, Linux GNU, and SPARC version 8, and I changed that to, theoretically we need to support SPARC version 8, which is not the highest priority of mine, so that list is even incomplete. And they had here only SPARC 64, no, they had here SPARC 64, so you see here again, right? In my opinion, this should be SPARC 64, right? So I'm a little bit torn of, maybe I should open a bug report and discuss it first, because I would, theoretically, in my opinion, all the SPARC version 9 is misleading and obviously not working as its fullest potential, and not working in the case all the Linux distributions, including Debian and probably the nearly last supporting SPARC. So theoretically, in my opinion, all those variable names, of course, they are only, they are not affecting the code, right? It's just human readable naming, right? But to avoid confusion, because clearly we would want this to be a 32-bit. Also, I mean, it's a little bit funny. I mean, yeah, internally they don't even support SPARC version 7, right? They probably only support hardware multiply and divide. So, I mean, this is a little bit silly, right? So theoretically, this could be SPARC because version 8, it's like, and what's with version 7? Yes, unsupported and stuff. And so theoretically, this should be SPARC. Not that the naming would matter too much, but all the other code would need to be changed, right? So it should be SPARC 64, and then all the other code needs changing because currently there is code in there that, for example, for the assembler, somewhere here, for example, is version 9, right? SPARC ASM info select, all this stuff. So it's not purely SED. I wouldn't make this video if it just would be SED, right? So for extremely bizarre and, in my opinion, really stupid reasons, again, mistakes were made, right? So this needs to change, right? So SPARC, ELF, MC, machine code or so, ASM info, triplet. So is version 9, because this is like is 64, right? So theoretically all this, I mean, sure, we don't need to change the name, just it would be misleading, right? So and that's the difference, right? If I only do this patch for me in T2, I would leave this name here and call it YOLO, whatever. The name is just shit, but it is what it is. Not to avoid too much conflicts and merge issues, right? I mean, so, and also, I mean, sure, we could, like in the most minimal viable prototype, I mean, this could even stay if we like internally, like the triple, this arch triplet here, the triple get arch. I mean, we don't need to, again, this is only a number for the compiler, right? This might expand to 13 or something. So, I mean, technically we don't need to change that urgently. I mean, this could theoretically still work, like, although the naming is misleading. Because version 9, obviously, like everyone except maybe some outlier, this code was done for some bizarre combination of, sure, maybe Solaris, but I would think so not. Maybe it is, but it's strange and silly and certainly confusing, right? So for example here, right? So this definitely needs to be changed. So this other stuff would only be for the style and non-confusion. But this needs to change, right? So SPARC ASM backend, so comparing the name. So this should be 64. And so the thing is, because that is, ironically, here they use is 64-bit, right? Maybe because that is a generic, maybe that is some generic thing here of generic ELF. I mean, this makes so much more sense, right? Like, raise your hand who would not differentiate SPARC 64 and SPARC version 9, which clearly is not doing what it's supposed to do. The thing is, it makes no sense, you could argue, but René, why do you spend your lifetime again patching after major industry-leading projects that are clearly again broken? Because why do you not simpler quirk it, right? So to simpler quirk it, we would need to patch Rust even more. We would need to change this internally to synthesize, to map to SPARC version 8 and not version 9. But that would again technically be wrong, and that might break in other unforeseen ways, because usually if I quickly YOLO stuff, sometimes I quickly YOLO stuff because I can clearly not fix everything correctly. But usually if I try this, I know already from experience, because there are so many things where a one-to-one mapping is required or hard-coded, maybe even in our own code, right? So that even quirking that somehow to SPARC version 8 to satisfy this weird LLVM requirements, it could still break in 100 unforeseen ways, right? Which is like, yeah, I probably better patch that like somewhat correctly. So basically for T2, our amazing Linux distribution, where increasingly everything and the most obscure combinations actually work. And don't forget to share and subscribe if you want to see Firefox soon running on some T4, 64 or so thread speculating first speculative executing some SPARC processor. So other cases that we need to patch here, for example, this mappings, right? So what I would do for T2 is, I mean, probably, so this is triple arch path arch. I mean, I guess this is probably the main code area where currently this is bugging out, because some place like this, the LLVM Clang toolchain gets SPARC version 9 and translates that to SPARC 64 here. So that would be one of the first things, right? And so basically, we probably, it's like, and this will break everywhere, right? This is not a small task. So that is not like we patched quite a lot in LLVM Clang, but that is like, this has the chance to break all over the place, right? So I guess we better get started for real here. And for that, we will target SPARC 64 with 32-bit default userland, and then 0 LLVM. Maybe I should know. I should. Of course, I just press Ctrl C. Let's hope this didn't break you much. I, by the way, tested. So in principle, I again did it wrong. Oh, wrong is relative. Also, why does this not Ctrl C? Hello. Yeah. Today from the home office and live streaming from an M1 Mac. Which comment? Was there a comment? Do we need to support these? Or have you seen this in? What did I even press here now? Why does this not console there? Why does not? Whatever I've done there. What I want, I mean, probably it now built so long that we probably actually I wanted to build verbose to know when it configured. In the meantime, oh, it didn't. All right, maybe did we even, whatever we did there, let's clean up all the mess. You're saying, do we need bit width? Did you say this in LLVM or in? Or was it Clang? Or was it below the video already? Anyway, Anthony writes, major technical blunder. Wonder if they choose version 9 because they had no hardware and assumed that it. I mean, I guess. I mean, probably Sun Solaris maybe used it like this. But I mean, you could argue that is Sun's way of encoding that, but I would still argue the rest of the Free Software Foundation, GNU, GCC didn't use it like this, and it's confusing, it doesn't make sense, right? So they should not have used it, although it might have made sense from some Sun Solaris engineer. I actually have not checked who has written this code for that. Yeah, but basically we are coming full circle, right? I've seen this maybe a year ago. It's like, yeah, whatever. I patched it a little bit and I hope, fingers crossed, hopefully it works. Of course it didn't. So we're coming full circle. Like we have not fixed it a year ago and now we find it still broken, obviously, right? So let's configure that just to Control C that. So yeah, that is really unfortunate, and we better fix it eventually if we ever want. By the way, was it all in lib? Probably. Let's fix it for real. Where do we have here? Case. So we basically need to fix most of those. SPARC version 9. So we, and this probably will break the first time. Plus, theoretically, we would need to fix all the test cases, right? There are probably test cases. And by the way, here they have that, right? EM, so SPARC. I mean, okay, that is there. I mean, oh, wait a second. Maybe that is even wrong. Maybe the, that is binary ELF class. Maybe the ELF class is SPARC version 9. That is, yeah, that is the thing, right? Where is what used? Maybe that is even the official registered name for that. It's all right. I can't. Sandbox checks. Hello. Oh, where is this double L? So yes, SPARC version 964-bit. So yeah, and I mean, okay, sure, there is some confusion, unfortunately. But so yeah, it clearly is very limited. This surely Sun in some way, shape, or form has contributed to that, calling it like that, and many operating systems using 32-bit anyway, right? I mean, clearly you want, it's possible, it runs, everyone and their family has done it for performance optimizations for decades. And I don't know, so where they use it, right? Where, if this is used to, what does file stuff even return? Although I think file stuff returns SPARC 64 probably. That, okay, this also prints out 64-bit MS, most 64-bit first shared object SPARC version 9. So an UltraSPARC 1 extension is required. I mean, fair enough, it's printed like that. But even this can differentiate between 32-bit and 64-bit, right? So that is 32-bit SPARC 32 plus. It's, yeah, it is a mess. I agree it is a mess, but the way it's implemented means you can't currently generate 32-bit code for SPARC version 9 any last nearly 30 years SPARC version 9. It's, yeah. We just need to find out which places we need to patch though. Obviously, I don't know where. I would need to do even more code analysis. What does have here? SPARC, if that or that, arch triple. What does have here? Call frame string. Whatever. Yeah, this is really cumbersome work now. I mean, maybe we should, maybe we should actually cut this on there and unique. And so SPARC version 9, we need to be careful. What would this be? Convert arch name to E machines. It's probably used for debug printout, so maybe we can leave that SPARC version 9, I guess, here. What is that here? Convert arch to, maybe this is our, this was probably the same file. So this was this here. What do we have here? Triple. So I'm not renaming this SPARC version 9. I mean, okay, if Sun calls it like that, I mean, fine, yes, theoretically. Then let's not rename it. 42 I anyway would want the most minimal viable prototype patch, because the less we touched, the less I have to rediff and rebase for the next major release, which is coming soon. What do we have here? So that is SPARC selection of all of those. So theoretically this sorting is also funny, because why is it's neither alphabetically sorted nor 64-bit is coming last, but because basically SPARC ending is little belongs to that, but nah. Code review pickiness. Triple return support SPARC 64 resolve SPARC 64. What is that here? Good really okay. Okay, I mean this okay. So basically what we want to change is, again, despite confusing naming, but what we want to change is where it's interfacing with other code. Has JIT false. That's unfortunate for software implemented Mesa or other such stuff. It wasn't triple CPP. Thanks for the clarification, highly appreciated. Pedro says, what's the extra cost of keeping support? Do they need to change things on a very low level because hardware does not support common features, common or mainstream? What precisely are you talking about? Which support? I mean, theoretically, it's mostly supported, right? They ironically support SPARC version 8 32-bit. It's just that the surrounding infrastructure, I mean, beside all the variable naming, in my opinion, is very confusing. They also currently do not support generating 32-bit code for SPARC version 9. So, I mean, the extra support cost is nearly zero because the basic infrastructure is there. It's just not set up and interfaced in a way that it actually works the way normal users, normal developers would expect it. So register target, SPARC version 9, get SPARC version 9 target, SPARC version 9. So the question is this some factory name? I maybe better not touch that, I guess. I mean, it's anyway some trial and error, right? First, patch everything that makes sense to probably patch. Create SPARC MC subtarget info. So we always need to, okay, that is some internal machine code creation thing. We better leave this as for V9. I mean, it's a V9 CPU, so yeah. What do we have here? Is version 9 triple? Okay, we can, this is the internal enum. We can, internal enum name doesn't matter. Is 64-bit. So here I would, the target, the question is the target name. So here would probably be SPARC 64. Like if, so this is probably, so is 64-bit. Support little, support big. Maybe that, did I even, I even used, I used theoretically the wrong editing thing. What do we have here? Is 64-bit triple. I mean, here they use it based on the triple. I wonder which triple that is though. Oh, that's the internal enum anyway, so. Yeah, I mean, in general, not the super most impressed. What is that precisely here? Get arch type name. The question is always, what is it used for, right? I mean, it's a mess, right? It's if do we refer to the CPU implementation or the target author name? It's an absolute mess. It was not a good idea, even if used at some, it's like that in some point in time. It's an absolute mess. I mean, maybe Sun, to their defense, maybe they thought in 1995 or whatever, the future is 64-bit and they will never use something else again until they were beaten in benchmarks, and they probably also had to implement 32-bit user mode stuff. SPARC version. I mean, if we don't change that, what do we have here? SPARC version 9. That is switching the arch type kind. I mean, given that these are architectures, I would say that probably should be SPARC 64 then, if we want to make it like working. Funny, this anyway returns. What is that? Mapping that to the string ref of get arch type prefix? I mean, even that is limiting, right? Because do they even have... Because somewhere they just return SPARC. Here they return SPARC. Do they also do this for x86? Okay, here they, okay, this might work. They also do this for x86 for whatever. So what do you have here? We have SPARC 64. What do we have here? Which case was this? Arch type. Also, do they have this twice for arch? They have this twice. Okay, they have here some alias for arch type, get arch type for LLVM name. Yeah, the question is, will this work? So arch types, this should be SPARC. Oops. Where's my typing? What's going on here? Yeah, that's the thing, right? If you keep this internal enum thing at SPARC version 9, it's each time confusing when you see it. Theoretically, we would need to... Do they have cases here? Because... I mean, here they have even x32 underscore 32. Given that we have variants, do we have in other like MIPS we might have? Where do we have? Because we sometimes might need to map. I mean, we can see where it fails. I mean, if we test build it, it will fail with probably SPARC version 9 not mapped somewhere. So I guess in some of those places did I not? In some of those plots, did I even, what did I, I somehow pressed undo too much. So we probably need, in some of those cases, we probably need to map SPARC version 8 and 9. Ah, darn it. So the challenge is to find out in which places. So we might need that. I just don't know. Just don't know in which places. That is now the challenge. So here, okay, maybe in this one, if this is some input. So in cases where this is inputted past arch. So like in cases like this for sure. So this architecture maps that to triple arch, and so this we need to make this cases, and add here for sure SPARC version 8. I guess at least. I mean, yeah, they have all the other MIPS R6 variants upstairs there. So SPARC version 9, very theoretically. I mean, if we wanted to feel like supporting it, we could add SPARC version 7, but SPARC version 7 is in general not very much supported in LLVM, so I guess I leave this out for. I'm also personally not really supporting that the most, given that support was removed in Linux kernel and glibc. So yeah, stuff like that. Oh wait, did I? Oh no. It's funny how all this stuff maps to SPARC. What it was like this previously, so I guess we'll leave it for now. I hear some more I did. Oh no, this is correct. This just confused me because it also highlighted that. So, okay, that's just elf. That is 64. This is the internal enum. That's not a string. And there the other is SPARC 32. That's fine. What more do we have? SPARC version. So they set triple. This is funny. Why do they not have a? Where do they have regular SPARC? Why do they set this to triple SPARC, or do they? Ah, okay, they only have this generically without. Okay. It's a little bit but where is there SPARC here in this case? Here is something already 32-bit. Not really sure. Why do they not set Arch? Maybe for some reasons. What do we have here? Triple SPARC set Arch. Where do we have that already? 64-bit. Ah yes. Okay, get this variant. Okay, this is why this. Okay, fine. That makes as much sense as something like this makes sense. SPARC, what do we have here? Triple SPARC. Is this against some? It's probably against some. It's still the same. I didn't skip over that. Get little Indian variant. Okay, fine. This is, yeah, okay. What do we have here? So now we wrapped. Could this possibly be all? So we only did this in lib. Do we also have, so here's this target parser triple. So in, wait, we also have, okay, here's a, I mean, okay, this works, this was include. This is just, I mean, again, here they have a SPARC 64, right? So clearly other people were there before and did something. It's funny, is PPC 64 or get Arch? This is also a little, yeah, what the heck? But whatever, it's not my code. F64 SPARC, okay, fine. Do we have more of this stuff? So this was in lib, we did all of lib, object here. Tests we don't touch. Unit tests and tests. And how did we build? We build with that in object here, I guess. Let's see if we have any. So yeah, we will also do the same for Clang. I'm not even sure this might require a more substantial. We also need to do Clang, right? And this also might need to require a hour-long debug guru meditation stuff until it actually really works. Let's see, what else do we have there? Jenna. it's in line with the comment. Talking about the costs of porting different architectures. Wouldn't it be better to adjust for the exceptions and use some kind of software approach when the hardware does not? Well, the hardware does. The hardware is not lacking any support, right? It's LLVM, which currently does not allow generating. Like if you tell LLVM Clang you want 32-bit SPARC version 9 code, it will produce 64-bit code, right? And that clearly breaks everything. So it's not anything about hardware. It is that LLVM Clang was implemented entirely incompatible with all the Free Software Foundation, GNU, GCC, bin utils, best practices, right? They just implemented some random stuff that may be used in Solaris like this, but not in the open source world. So it's a pure software imperfection here. We just patch the software stack to behave, to allow controlling detail that currently does not allow it to control, and in the Linux world currently generates the wrong code for a certain input that generates different code and than expected with GCC. So Pedro asks, developing software on the user level, so let the compiler take care of things. Yeah, so the compiler is doing the wrong things, right? We tell the compiler we want 32-bit SPARC version 9 code, and the compiler is giving us 64-bit code, right? Because it had hard-coded, LLVM Clang had hard-coded SPARC version 9 arch triplet to 64-bit code, which again, I'm repeating myself, in the GNU GCC and all of Linux world is incorrect. And there might be other operating systems that behaved like that, but again, it's anyway confusing, even if it was used like this in Sun, yeah, SunOS, but anyway. You mean most things on optimized for cache hits and memory footprint. And that is exactly the reason why everyone on this early 64-bit architectures, including the P3 as far as I remember, because obviously the P3 also has only very limited memory, 256 megabyte. So as far as I know, all the games and all the game OS of Sony and their licensees, for exactly that reason, they run 32-bit, they run 64-bit code with 32-bit pointers. So that is the same as Linux x86 x32, which is AMD 64 in 64-bit mode with 32-bit pointers. And we have done the same, like not even, this was, I can check that, right? I mean, everyone did this. SGI did this, so Sun, Solaris, SPARC version 9, 32-bit user space. Everyone did this. MIPS, SPARC, Sony as late as 2005, 2006 with P3. Yeah, I mean, maybe Sun did not further optimize it and simply called really all 64-bit stuff SPARC version 9, but it's not very flexible. It's, yeah, in a compiler, it also, specifically in a compiler, and hey, Sun Solaris is dead, right? And so is SPARC. So given that there is no Solaris future and Oracle is doing big Linux and probably Solaris will be sooner or later entirely dead, it makes today even less sense to base something on this vintage other OS, vintage obsolete and low performance other OS. So we're getting somewhere 90%. We could theoretically do the same for Clang already. SPARC 6432 Clang with -v, with a space for pros. And then source clang, and let's do the same again for SPARC version 9. Let's get a quick overview. Is it again mostly in, so apparently mostly in lib, except tests. Okay, mostly there. Let's see what we got there. I would need to check with, we have already, we're still linking. We have, of course, our full GCC compiler, so SPARC version 9, oh no, not version 9, SPARC. What do even, all right, this is our compiler, is this one here, SPARC 64. This is our compiler. Let's C test, C touch test, C, and let's pre-process this. Pre-process this and get all the defines here. Let's grab for any of this broken OS as its finest. Okay, this indeed defines SPARC version 9. That is what I wanted to test in 32-bit mode and in 64-bit mode. We don't get much other stuff. So there we have some Arch 64. There we don't. There we have LP64. Yeah, so such kind of stuff additionally we have there. We don't have that for 32, right? So that is the default. We have some 64, but just double checking here what we, so then this, we still freaking LTO linking apparently. Good, let's do the same for Clang. Where even do I have that? Excuse me. So, SPARC version 9. Basically, so I patched that already, so that will not be part of this patch. I mean, we could check what they do for NetBSD stuff and Solaris, but nah, YOLO, I guess. I mean, maybe we don't need to patch Clang further if they use the LLVM's triple, so they use LLVM's library to pass those triple. Maybe we don't need to change anything here then. So we use this as UltraSPARC. We can check what it's doing here. SPARC version 9. Okay, that is, what do we have here? So that is, okay, SPARC stuff. What is it for? Arc optimizations. What? Are optimizations enabled? What? Okay, this is all of those SPARC. This is parsing SPARC options. No, some LTO linking done. Okay, maybe we don't need to patch Clang further. So maybe the only thing we need to get behave the way we want is LVM if we're lucky. I mean, of course, we are getting in unsupported and untested territory, given that we patch LVM like reoccurrently, right? If we are the only ones to patch stuff to actually work on all those exotic things, we are on our own warranty, and like often stuff does not work then as expected. So we might have more bugs and features to fix. I mean, this GNU CPP toolchain stuff I had fixed already. Okay, so this build, I wonder, do we probably run install, right? So this is this build. I mean, maybe should we just run? It probably should work, except when it doesn't, and override system stuff. Oops. We are installing with, do we have some test? Do we have prefix? Okay, that looks about right. I guess we can risk this. Let's save that. So fix file diff. What did we patch? We patched here somewhere in some triple parser returning SPARC 64. We patched further SPARC version 8 in there. Not sure if that's needed, but maybe it is. We could double check that with MIPS. We added the SPARC version stuff, triple parsing. Is this all we... There must have been more. There was... did we not change this one is 64 to... Nah. This looks incomplete to me. This is... I probably have run this wrongly. Hotfix SPARC version 9, not 64 or so patch. Nah. So the question then is, given that I just deleted Firefox, so we're currently very clever. So yeah, maybe I've overlooked something, but that's basically it. Plus more of this in testing, so probably we overlooked. I mean, probably I diffed like I probably back up one file wrong. Maybe I diffed another file wrong, and maybe I overlooked at least one thing. Theoretically, previous video, right? Industry experts shocked random YouTuber does unit testing. Theoretically, we could and maybe should add a assertion to test that if you build something that, like testing, like not unit testing like everything, but at least unit testing is the most important thing. So maybe we should add an assertion that if you, like after building LLVM and Clang, like checking, asserting that, and that's the point of what, if you're wondering what is the point of assertion, right? Asserting that the produced compiler actually generates code in the way required for at least this target. So not a huge unit test, but like the most minimal viable tests. Also, I think I wanted Firefox. I think I changed directory wrong. Touch test C. Let's Clang. Probably had that here. No. Okay, Clang. I mean, the default should already be that. I mean, that's an interesting question whether the default is already correct. Anyway, let's like maybe even compile the hello world thing, which is why we have that here. What did we get with hello? Oh, hey, it's a 32-bit. It's this. I believe that probably changed. It probably wasn't that before. Maybe we further actually need to patch it. Maybe I don't know if the linker will link stuff together. So this does not look right to me. It probably should be. Actually, we could test this. It probably should be SPARC version 9. SPARC version 9. So that would be SPARC 64 T2 Linux GCC. Yeah, this is SPARC 32 plus. So that I guess so. It's changed. So our patch had some effect, but I don't. The question is also, does the code actually work, right? Like that some code is encoded like SPARC 32-bit. But yeah, this is probably wrong. It should be SPARC 32 plus. Yeah, I will probably debug that later tonight or stuff. I don't really have the time for that now. I need to move on to some other things. We could test, we could test whether we change the target. I believe this was target SPARC version 92 Linux GNU. Okay, oh, maybe equal. Target SPARC. Yeah. Ah, shit, I deleted the log file. Alright, this is the wrong, we need cling. What happens with SPARC version 92 Linux GNU? What is this? Yeah, so I believe that is wrong. It changed, but that's not perfect. It should write this as SPARC 32 plus, and maybe set the fields for version 9, like ABI, whatever CPU thing. So, I mean, the patch was too simple anyway. I think I patch run wrong file. SPARC 32 plus or so. Yeah. Plus. Why did this not match? Whatever I did there previously. I mean, I could try if this links first, but from my experience it will probably not link, but I could be wrong. So this is convert arch to EA machine. How to get this generated? So do they have not this wired up anywhere? Object YAML, binary ELF format. Maybe that is not further wire up. Maybe it would not surprise me if that is something unused or half implemented with our luck. So yeah, this is just returning. This is just mapping the probably that probably needs some wiring, and it looks like that's not implemented, at least on a first glance. This is way too little code for that. So that probably needs some enablement somewhere. Yeah, welcome to the open source life of cleaning behind each and every such things. Maybe we should grab for EM SPARC version 9 and see where that is set. Here is object writer is 64. Okay, here. So probably. So this we need to fix somehow. We could even make it a conditional patch for now, because it might not be easy to get this in there. All right, so we need to check the, we could check the arch triplet. So basically, I guess we could check the arch triplet. If we have it here, do we have the arch triplet here? Maybe we, and that's the thing, right? Why do I sometimes hack stuff the quick YOLO way? Because there might not be the infrastructure for that here. I mean, maybe it's in the MC11 object target writer base class. Maybe it isn't. So we could do that smart. What was it? Where it was underscore plus or SPARC 32 plus. Maybe that's enough, maybe it isn't. And so that's also not 100% correct, right? We would need to check on the sub-architecture and decide, well, although, yeah, so basically SPARC 32 plus was, I mean, obviously unsupported and unused in here. It's fun that the define was in there, but so object here, so we need to build that again. Probably might, if we're unlucky. Oh, it's built relatively quickly. I thought it will LTO link longer. Let's see if that had an effect instantly. And that's of course like why we keep the source code here, why I Control-C aborted into there, because then we have an instant edit compile thing, right? Where's our clang? Did I do this also on the other console? Maybe I did. Clang, hello. Linker command failed. Exec format error. I believe that changed again. So what did we, did I not see? Oh no, I didn't see that. So actually we won't only compile. Did this work? Okay, that worked. Hey, now we get SPARC. I mean, it might still not be 100% correct. I mean, now it's SPARC 32 plus. That's already better than nothing. SPARC 64. I mean, maybe SPARC 32 plus linking is also unimplemented in LVM. Let's compare that with so we have, is that identical? Does he also have total store ordering? Okay, that's identical. The question is, what does that use to link? Also, so did we mach build? Maybe, so yeah, then this would be Firefox proper. It will probably fail. Also, I did not patch. There is probably at least some SPARC atomics also. Yeah. The endless story, right? What even was this book title in English? Anyway, so do we have any other? So yes, that is the open source life of maintaining a Linux distribution. And I mean, that is obviously only the tip of the iceberg. That is only the lightweight work, right? Basically, I mean, obviously all the 99% of stuff is implemented there. Maybe some SPARC 32 plus linking stuff might be missing, as it didn't just work. But otherwise, implementing everything from scratch is, of course, monumental task. And you probably want to share, like, subscribe. Ideally, I would want to implement a most minimal compiler linker stuff like TCC, but unreadable also. Just to have a very readable implementation. So let's see what's going. It might still, and so the thing why this failed is most likely, I mean, not only everything needs to match here, right? So not only theoretically we've built with GCC, which is a compiler that supports all and most architectures and usually works more than the often more quickly YOLO LLVM Clang stuff, which obviously was out of sync. And everything needs to be in sync, right? GCC, like all the compiler components, which recurrent criticism are many, our system compiler, our additional LLVM Clang compiler stuff, plus Rust, and all of those bits and pieces need to actually work and produce working code and not like randomly broken code, which they might do because I leave the we are leaving the beaten path, and first time ever testing SPARC 32 plus v9 code here in LLVM Clang, so this might minesweeper explode here left and right on our unbeaten path. And all of those needs to play correctly together, right? And also they use this for language bindings, right? So they at times generate, they probably use cbindgen, the cbinding generator for Rust and C code interworking here, plus other cbinding generating stuff. And so all of those steps obviously need to match and be in sync and work together and be hopefully mostly bug-free, because what's not bug-free usually breaks sooner or later. Why does this not find a... It doesn't match here anything with error, which I always hate when this happens. Like you build something and then, like, yeah, another real criticism right now, we have 2 dozens of failing build systems and they all fail differently, and then you don't even see and find the build error anymore, like it's somewhere here probably. So Rust is there. I mean, this might be the atomic stuff that I knew already failed. I just wish I would, like, here it helps nothing like error in, oh shit, I think there was an error. Yeah, so many errors and then could not compile, unresolved. What's going on here? Unresolved import add. What the freaking heck is even freaking going on? This is why I hate Rust and Cargo, because what? Third party Rust CTAP. I mean, our beloved gazillion micro dependencies, right? Maybe that's not selected for SPARC. I mean, this is what I really hate with Rust, right? Each time I build something non-standard, this Rust and Cargo shit fails in creative ways. Architecture dependent, use add. Oh, here's something. Cool. Is any target arch of this shit then? What the heck? All right, I think, where is even the add thing? Use add architecture dependent. All right, I think I patched this yesterday and I didn't save it, so I think I had this here already. Oops. Does this build? But there were, like yesterday, there were other errors, which is why today I patched LLVM Clang. This is probably still not enough. I already patched atomics because obviously the atomics also didn't build. So it might already be saved in the Firefox tree. Now let's change to J. This is. So without that, it's probably J32. Embarrassingly parallel build. I mean, this definitely will not. I would be very surprised and impressed if that builds now, because last night it didn't. But hey, we fixed some stuff today, so maybe it builds now, but for sure I have another couple of things to patch. Usually I have. But here, if you want to see that running on a SPARC, then don't forget to subscribe. Also for Rust and PS3. Also, probably sometime soon I drop it here live on this live stream. Of course, this failed, so that's exactly what we were waiting for, right? 90 compiler warnings present, cool. Yeah, 2023, you need to run stuff twice. Once embarrassingly parallel and once with J1, just to have a chance to at least determine at all where the bloody error happens. Here, pre-exporting. I mean, it probably, so here we have that again. What failed? I mean, maybe it's still the same. Maybe it's, here, okay, so this are the, yeah, so this are the static assertions from yesterday. And this is why last night, so that is what actually coming full circle and why we began this live stream, because that is actually what I ended up with last night. So, hey, one day later, I'm exactly where I was last night already. So, and that is why last night I found out, wait a second, Clang is generating 64-bit code when it shouldn't. And now we are still here. So now we still need to figure out why this Chromium IPC stuff of message pump lib event. So like, why does this, where is it coming from? So size of type, so event size, so like here, we need to check where that is generated from. Probably somewhere here or there or there. Here are some configs. Probably you can never have too many configs of, I mean, okay, so there, I mean, why is this stuff pre-generated there? I mean, maybe there, and I hate this shit, right? I really can, I mean, I wish I'm so full of energy and doing amazing stuff, and I'm sitting at 25 years later, and when I see this already, I could throw up already. This is so low quality YOLO stuff. When I see this grep results already, I wonder what the freaking heck they were thinking when they wrote it, right? Like pre-generating all this shit here. So CMake define. So like, yeah, we probably want to check this in object dir, and where do we have Chromium? IPC Chromium, where do we have, okay, we don't have that here, cool. Would have expected it to have it here, but somehow we don't. Size of any? No? Oh, thank you very much. Maybe this nonsense is entirely pre-generated, which wouldn't surprise me, but is of course a technical low. Chromium source, probably. Also like, yeah, every like lib event built in there because reasons. By the way, can we have system lib event maybe of configure or configures or other? What would that be? System lib event also? With system lib event. I mean, maybe we can work around that with system lib event, because I would normally not want to. I mean, maybe this is just some pre-saved configuration marginality of all this extreme nonsense our grep finds here. Yeah, when I see this, my motivation, it's like, yeah, I rather fix a compiler than this entire and utter completely bullshit nonsense stuff here. Not even sure what even freaking are they using here? Android lib event. The question is, I mean, yes, I mean, good luck finding out which of all this nonsense is even used. I personally, if I would be the project manager, I would never allow such nonsense. Here we have LP. I mean, this does not look too bad. I mean, maybe it still runs, but no, this also doesn't make the most sense. I mean, it doesn't look too bad with LP64 here. Maybe they have hardcode. Do they have SPARC here somewhere? I mean, okay, to be fair, this stuff looks mostly okay-ish. Just does not work entirely as expected. Do we have, and so much too, all of those random improvements of my beloved SPARC systems can always improve other builds, right? So lib event. Okay, we actually have libs we use with system event. Did we build with system event? Maybe this only works partially. lib event. Oh, a system event, cool. So yeah, we built like, hey, Firefox, use system lib events. Like, yo, I'll do that, except I have another built-in copy there anyway, thanks for nothing. Yeah, so this hunt will unfortunately continue. Did I not just patch that somewhere? Did I VI that wrong? Apparently I VI'd that wrong. So yeah, I will continue. I mean, it makes no sense to live stream all these disappointments here. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something until here. We are one step further. So having Firefox running again on our beloved UltraSPARC might only be another day or week away. So make sure you share, like, subscribe, not to miss out on any of those. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something, and have a good day or night, and I hope to see you soon for all the continuation and final Firefox and SPARC enablement sometime soon. Hopefully sooner than later.